So I've been getting a lot of messages from content creators on YouTube, friends of ours, stuff like that. And they're all making videos about how I've been justified by the fact that Mangold lied about Indiana Jones and that Indiana Jones is going to fail. And somehow that justifies my initial tweet that set off this whole thing years ago.
You are the Mangold Slayer.
You prophesied the future, sir.
You did.
Yeah.
You were like, this movie's gonna suck.
I was about this before Doomcock even stepped foot in the ring.
Yeah.
Just pointing that out.
Is this the wheat or the rye?
I don't know.
But I just wanted to kind of talk about this for a second.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm actually kind of sad because I want good Indiana Jones. And everything we're hearing about this is that Mangold lied about all the reshoots and about all the story problems and like the issues that they had making this movie. And yeah, it's nice to be right, which I usually am. But at the same time, I feel like it's a situation where we all lose.
Yeah, it is 100%.
You're right.
Yeah, I none of us here at this table, and Jude's not here, but including Jude, none of us here wanted this movie to be bad.
No.
Like, we all want the movie to be good. We all love Indiana Jones. We want Harrison Ford to go out. Like, he went out really great with The Last Crusade, run off into the sunset.
Which was the very last Indiana Jones
the
movie
last
that was ever made.
The perfect ending to the last indie movie. Right there. Done.
This is the last movie.
Sell it.
It's the last indie movie.
Perfect. Nobody, when we hear, oh, there's a new indie movie, and we're like, isn't he like 79?
You really?
What are we doing
New
with
indie
this?
movie?
And we're like, well,
a new indie movie that's supposed to wrap up the franchise that doesn't bring back any of the original cast except for like one person.
Sala?
Sala. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I heard he's in it for like
Carrie,
30 seconds.
is it Carrie Allen? Right?
Who?
Karen Allen.
Karen Allen's not even in it,
No.
which is a bummer because
they didn't get Short Round. They didn't get
what
Spielberg's wife.
How could you?
what a missed opportunity that
really?
They didn't even bring back Mutt.
Yeah, but nobody likes Shia LaBeouf. But they could have
yeah.
recast him. But what I'm saying with Short Round, and listen, I'm on record. I'm not even a huge fan of Temple of Doom. I see your super chat there, the Gourd King, which is a great name. I'll get to you in just 1 second. I'm not a huge fan of Temple of Doom. It's my least favorite of the original 3 movies, but Short Round is for sure a classic characters that needs. What are you doing? That needs to be back.
I'm cutting your heart out.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Kalima.
Like can you imagine if they would have had the not foresight, but like just the dumb luck of casting Short Round back for this indie movie, and then Everything Everywhere All at Once comes out around the same time, and the buzz off of that goes directly into Indy 5.
It would have been
amazing. Would have been $1 billion movie. People are like,
movie.
Short Round's in that freaking dope freaking kung fu movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Let's go see him back in Indy 5. That's going to be fantastic. I would have been sold on that. But they didn't.
No.
They didn't even call him.
No.
They were like,
and
we don't need him. We're going to get that
they
chick.
built so much of this Indy 5 movie around Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
And
I don't know why people keep trying to make her a thing.
Why? Well, yeah, why do they keep
because they like
her
her TV show Flea. What's up? Mangold Tears, $2 from the Gourd King. Thank you, sir. Mangold Tears. Indeed. He's probably crying in his closet right now.
On his huge pile of money.
Yeah.
I mean, this is even if Indy 5 flops, this is not going to hurt Mangold's
No,
career.
he's fine.
Wait, no,
He's fine.
you think? You really think that?
Well, he's got a Swamp Thing and a Star Wars movie lined up.
I think the worst thing James Mangold ever did was get
Team up with Lucasfilm.
with Disney.
Yeah, I agree because he makes banger movies.
If
Logan's awesome. Ford versus Ferrari is awesome.
If you're a really good director,
you don't need to don't
sign a contract with anything touching Disney.
Yeah,
don't do it.
Especially taken over from like arguably one of the greatest directors of all time, Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
Like Indiana Jones was Steven Spielberg's baby, and the fact that he stepped down from directing a 5th one tells you so much.
Yeah.
And I would not want to try to fill those shoes. It's no wonder Mangold had such.
He's stressing out about it. He was drinking himself to sleep at night.
I feel like all these old guys are just like I mean, I don't even know the words I want to say right now. But you got Spielberg and Lucas and these dudes and the composer whose name I can never remember.
John Williams.
Why can't I not remember his name?
Wait,
I don't
John
know. He's
Williams,
just the most famous composer ever.
The most famous. I can't remember his name.
Wait, he didn't compose the.
No, he did.
Oh, okay. All right,
I just can't remember his name.
I was stressing out.
You got these guys and they keep coming back. They must be just throwing the money at them, right? Just
Mhm.
to come out and make appearances. I feel like they just, I don't know.
They lost it. They lost their drive to make these types of movies.
Right.
Obviously, Harrison Ford is just. I mean, I know he loves Indiana Jones as a character. It's his favorite character he's ever played.
We all love Indiana Jones.
Yeah. But I mean, like Harrison Ford famously doesn't care about Han Solo.
Harrison
But they backed
Ford
up a
famously doesn't
truckload
care
of
about
money.
a lot of his characters.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Indy's like the one thing he really cared about.
Yeah.
It was also the one character that he actually had a say in. So like there used to be this rule that Spielberg, Lucas, and Ford all had to agree on the story for an Indiana Jones movie in order for it to go forward. And I think that somewhere along the way that just went out the window, probably after the fourth one.
Oh, Mangold did Walk the Line too?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
Gord King. Thank you.
go
I didn't know that. Walk the Line is one of my favorite movies too. 310 to Yuma was awesome.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Dude,
Great movie.
He doesn't need Disney. I don't know why he signed this contract.
He doesn't need Disney.
He doesn't need
That's the thing. These directors don't need Disney.
Well, here's the thing. I think he was under contract at Fox when Disney acquired them. And so like he still had a deal with Fox that got folded into Disney. And when they offered him Indiana Jones, he was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Can I'm gonna pivot just a little bit. I want to ask Matt a question.
Go ahead.
So in our circle, you have gained a reputation now due to that one single tweet.
One tweet
2 years ago. You have become known as the Mangold Slayer. I've heard this on multiple different streams on pretty popular channels. How does that make you feel? I mean, how you predicted this 2 years ago. You got the channel monetized by making James Mangold of all people spurg out because you were just being honest.
It's just a truth bomb.
You're just throwing a truth bomb out there.
Yeah.
Are you okay with this? That you are the dude that like kind of foretold this as being that this movie is gonna be what it is. I mean, tell us. Give me your. I want to know how you feel about this whole thing.
Well, I'm not surprised about how Indiana Jones 5 turned out because, like I said in that initial tweet, there were 4 things I pointed out, one of which was not correct.
Mm-hmm.
But the 3 major ones were Steven Spielberg wasn't directing it. It's the first Indiana Jones movie ever not to be directed by Steven Spielberg. Kathleen Kennedy was producing it, not as a line producer, but as a creative producer. And Harrison Ford is 79 or 78 at the time I did the tweet.
Right.
And I remember watching the movie that shall not be named and thinking Harrison Ford looked really old.
He looked old in that movie.
And
he was like 63.
Yeah, he was like
65
right? Or something like that. And even then I was like, this is stretching credibility with me. So just off of those 3 factors, I knew that Indiana Jones 5 was probably not going to be very good. And that makes me sad.
It makes me sad.
Yeah, because Indiana Jones is one of my all-time favorite film franchises. I grew up watching it. I grew up studying it. It was one of those things where like I worshipped at the altar of Spielberg because of those movies. I wasn't a big fan of E.T., but Indiana Jones, hell yes. Like that. Those were my movies.
But even E.T. had its thing.
I'm not saying E.T. wasn't a bad movie or wasn't a good movie. I'm just saying that like for me, I never watched E.T. more than like maybe once or twice. I watched Indiana Jones almost yearly. You know,
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a repeat viewing for sure.
I've seen it probably at least 100 times.
And it captures the spirit of 80s blockbuster filmmaking where it was like fun, adventurous, non-political.
Right.
It was something that you could just sit down and watch, turn your brain off, and just enjoy no matter how many times you watch those movies, even the ones that aren't, as enjoyable like Temple of Doom. You can still watch those and be like, yeah, these are fun. This is from an era where movies were fun.
Right.
And I feel like under Kathleen Kennedy's stewardship and, stuff like that, Lucasfilm movies aren't fun anymore.
Right.
They're political. They're about the message. And, when people like message me and they're like, dude, you were right. You were right. You're right. I was like, yeah, I know I was right. I knew I was right when I put out the tweet, but it makes me sad that I was right. I wish that Hollywood would wake up and understand that there's a certain way that you make movies that are timeless and classic and subservient to an audience, where you give an audience something special. What it sounds like what happened with Indiana Jones 5 is that it started off woke. They realized it was a mistake. They had to go back and reshoot it, and they turned it into a slaction film,
Right.
a film where like it doesn't pay homage to the legacy of Indiana Jones. It doesn't do anything new or interesting or fun. It's just there. And you know, James Mangold, I did not know who he was until he responded to my tweet. And this idea of me being a Mangold Slayer because I spurred him out over the course of 12 hours.
That was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Like that came from Andre at Midnight's Edge, where he just dubbed me the Mangold Slayer. I did not set out to embarrass him.
You didn't even know he was directing it at the time.
Exactly. I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen all of his movies, but like I never thought that he was such a interesting director that like I took the time to actually like learn his name, you know, like those movies, 3:10 to Yuma, I thought was okay. Never saw Ford versus Ferrari. Logan, I thought was decent. But for the most part, like Kate and Leopold was another one of his movies.
I like that movie too.
I remember watching behind the scenes on that, and what they caught with Mangold on the behind the scenes, it was like an HBO featurette, like a long time ago when the movie was first coming out. He was being such a jackass on set. I couldn't believe that they actually put that in the documentary. But like there was a scene where this meter maid's trying to give Leopold a ticket for like walking his dog without picking up the poop or something, and she kept like messing it up, like like she flubbed the ticket and it would fall out of her hand or whatever. And they cut to Mangold, and he'd just be like sitting there like, what the fuck, man? Like he was obviously annoyed and pissed off. And so like when he came after me and I found out who he was, I was like, oh, well, it's no wonder he's an egomaniac who's pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
But I never set out to trigger him. I never presented myself as like a news source or a reporter, like anyone who had any kind of insight, like it was just me on my couch making an observation, because at the time, behind the scenes photos had gotten released on Indiana Jones 5 and Twitter was going off its rails.
They were going ape shit.
Yeah.
There's no denying.
Yeah.
That.
To see Harrison Ford back in the Indy suit and stuff like that. There's all this speculation going on. I was like, guys, slow your roll. Right? Here's why you shouldn't be excited about this. And for whatever reason, that resonated with the director and writer of the film. And he felt that it was his responsibility for 12 straight hours to come after, not after just me, but all of us on the Salt and Nerd podcast.
Yeah.
And that got us on so many people's channels, like news stories were written about it, where my tweet was featured. And it was I never tagged him in it. I never tried to make a big deal out of this. It was just something that came off the cuff.
So,
and so like he embarrassed himself. So in a sense, James Mangold is the Mangold Slayer himself.
Let me ask this question. And I've kind of seen there's different videos going around out there in our YouTube world.
Hold on real quick. Danny, so he says you had a blue check when it mattered.
He did.
I did not have a blue check at that time, though.
Oh, you didn't?
No, that was pre-blue check.
That's interesting.
There's a lot of chatter going on out there, and there's a lot of videos going on out there in our world that says Mangold is he's a little bit nervous right now. He's a little bit worried because I feel like we can't deny that Mangold is a good movie maker. He's made good movies.
I like a lot of his movies.
There's a lot of his movies that are really good. There's talk out there that this movie is going to ruin his career. I mean, how do we feel about it? Are we gonna want to go watch Mangold movies after Indiana Jones? Well, after he destroys Indiana Jones, are we gonna want to go watch a Mangold movie?
Mangold has never been an above the fold director. Like his name has been attached.
He's not Steven Spielberg.
No, exactly. Like people don't market his movies based off a James Mangold film.
No.
Like he's always backseat to like the premise of his film.
Yeah, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean that's how most directors do it.
Yeah.
But James Mangold has never been like his visual style is very generic. Like you can't watch a James Mangold movie and be like, yeah, that's a Mangold maneuver. It's
the stories that I attach. Like when I think about like Ford versus Ferrari, I loved that story and I loved how it was put together and the actors and all that stuff. I never was like, oh, I wonder who directed that. Like that never crossed my mind.
I mean, me personally, I'm probably gonna go watch Indiana Jones 5 only because
we're gonna talk about it.
But just give me a second. At the same time, I know this movie's. I already know this movie. I already know what's going to happen. It's been spoiled.
Do you feel
Okay?
Has it?
It has.
I haven't.
It's like I know the first 20 minutes are cool, and the rest of the movie is a bunch of Phoebe Waller-Bridge bullshit.
Oh,
Okay,
don't tell me that.
That's what I know.
I was trying to go in without
Okay,
spoilers.
well you don't need. Well, sorry, spoil. But to me, James Mangold is now on that same shelf as that asshole.
Like a Ryan Johnson?
It's a Ryan Johnson.
Ooh.
That's where I was going.
Ooh.
James Mangold and Ryan Johnson, to me, in my head, are on the same shelf.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I really
Is it because they attack the fans?
Probably.
Okay.
It's like I don't care if I ever see another James Mangold movie again. Just like I don't care. I'm never gonna watch another Ryan Johnson movie.
That's true.
Again,
That's true.
It's like
I don't
says,
even watch the Knives Out movies.
If I see Ryan Johnson attached to something,
I'm not gonna watch it.
it's like I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm not watching you. But and the only reason I'm gonna go watch Indy 5 is because the words Indiana Jones are on the title, and I'm going to
obligation.
And I'm
to
going
watch
to
it.
be, and I know earlier today, me and Matt said we had a really short conversation about I don't like to go in the movie spoiled without I don't want to be predisposed into a thought pattern before I go into a movie, and I can't not go into Indiana Jones 5 now without knowing that fucking asshole went after us because he thought we were doing a podcast out of the basement and then we were a bunch of dipshits. You know what I'm saying?
Half that's true.
It's like
we are a bunch of dipshits.
Well, that's true. We are dipshits. But
dipshits from Chicago.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to like grade or review this movie without a biased opinion.
But
it sucks. I don't want to be that guy, but I kind of am. I am at that point. And to me, Mangold and Ryan Johnson are the same dude. And it sucks. It sucks.
So to answer Vader's question, if Indiana Jones 5 does flop, and I don't think it's going to flop huge like The Flash did. I think it's probably going to be like a minor disappointment. I don't feel like it's going to end Mangold's career. I don't even think it's going to affect it because number one, Lucasfilm has already committed to doing a Star Wars movie with it. And I know that some people don't think that means anything.
The 25,000 years before the Force.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically a biblical epic with Force powers. Sounds stupid to me, but but he's also lined up at DC with Swamp Thing, and so he's got at least two new avenues open to him to redeem his box office.
But that first avenue is still attaching his trailer to LucasArts or Lucasfilm.
I think the difference here is that with Lucasfilm, like with his the first Jedi movie that he's going to be doing, he has pretty much free reign to set the stage for the first Force users, and so like he's not beholden to anything,
and that's
really
fine.
But it gives him a lot more leeway to tell like I feel like he was a wrong fit for Indiana Jones because he's not a very optimistic filmmaker. Like he's kind of like a little bit cynical. Very much like Ryan Johnson is in terms of his storytelling.
You don't think that if this movie, if the Indy 5 movie just gets demolished in the box office,
it's going to happen.
That Lucasfilm isn't going to be like, hey, that Star Wars movie we told you about? Let's just
it's not his fault.
Just the fact that it's an Indiana Jones movie means that there's a certain level that it's not going to fall below at.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to show up because it has the name on the marquee.
I mean,
but
I'm not to defend James Mangold, but James Mangold isn't making a James Mangold movie here. He's making a Lucasfilm movie. He's making an Indiana.
Do you think
Jones
he can pass
movie.
off some of the blame onto?
I do.
I just directed. I just directed.
Yeah,
I didn't write it.
I think there's going to be part of that.
Sure, maybe.
I
think any director worth their salt should probably not attach themselves to Lucasfilm.
Well, we've heard a lot of inside baseball stuff about how toxic the environment is over at Lucasfilm, mostly thanks to Kathleen Kennedy, and how most directors of note, talented directors, don't want to work over there because of the basically the chaos that ensues whenever you
why
work
would you
on a Lucasfilm project. So basically they end up going with directors that they can control, who aren't very, don't have a lot of power. And we've seen the type of stuff we get from that. And it's not good.
You get these directors. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the directors that are coming up, that are going to be coming out of Lucasfilm in the next decade or so, are going to be these people that have been directing episodes of like The Mandalorian or Ahsoka,
Sure. Yeah.
or that kind of people that have been brought up in house
Mhm.
that are used to working with Kathleen
With the
and her system
yeah.
and the Lucasfilm way.
This is just how it's done around here.
This is just
I can
how
hear
we do
that.
it.
Yeah.
You know, and
You don't have that much say over it. You're essentially just an
like,
episode director
right,
for a TV show.
You're
like, hey,
basically
the story's written, the characters are here, the actors already know what they're doing. Just point the camera and go.
exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're breeding
It's like
their own
Ron Howard's
directors.
daughter. What's her
Yeah.
name?
Bryce Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah.
You know, the worst thing she ever did was probably get involved with Lucasfilm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's
so-
almost like a legacy from her father.
Here's the big mistake that Kathleen Kennedy made very early on under her tenure at Lucasfilm, which was that they hired young, kind of up and coming directors
Mhm.
that they couldn't control, right? And so then when that didn't work out, they start hiring unknown directors that they could control. When the marquee of the franchises that Lucasfilm had, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Willow, things like that, they require well-known marquee directors. They needed people like James Mangold early on to come in and shepherd the new Star Wars trilogy. Someone who understands story, who could basically plot out stuff, who understood characterization, who understood the audience that they're making this stuff for.
Right.
They should have really brought in the top tier of the top tier in Hollywood to do these movies. Instead, they went fly by night, young, inexperienced, kind of like overrated.
Well, my theory on that was Kathleen Kennedy was trying to find the next Spielberg and Lucas. Like she grew up in the shadow of those guys, watching them come in 70s cinema, being the young and crazy ones. What's up, Jude? Being the young and crazy guys with cameras, just doing things off the whim, which according to that book that I read after your recommendation was like a big no-no for the studios back in the day. They're like, oh, these freaking young kids don't know what they're doing. They're not following the studio recommendations. That's Kennedy's like upbringing. She's like, oh, I got to find the next guy like that, the guy who's doing things different, the guy who's doing things not right.
And she tried to do that initially because if you look at the original slate of directors for the Star Wars movie, so you had Josh Trank, who was going to do the Boba Fett movie. You had Lord and Miller, who were going to do
the solo movies. Yeah.
You had Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams and all these guys who are like the next generation of Hollywood directors, right? And so like she was bringing them in to get like the next generation going, like get their perspective, get their young energy.
Which honestly is not a bad idea.
No.
She just really made some bad picks.
The problem really is that when you have all these like very talented filmmakers who have their own vision of stuff, there's no cohesion there. So they have all these different ways of working. What they really needed was one director, one producer who oversaw all these films.
And that's why the world was better when George Lucas was in charge of.
Yeah, but
Star
then George
Wars.
Lucas made the
I'm not saying it was good. I was absolutely
George Lucas is a good idea guy.
Listen,
he's a good
George
idea
Lucas gave us mini chlorines. Okay.
Here's what I'm going to say about George Lucas. If you guys
chlorines.
ever watched the documentary on the making of the Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
you'll know that the downfall of any great artist, whether it be Spielberg or Lucas or whoever, is that people stop telling them that their ideas suck.
Yep.
They stop challenging them to be better.
Yep.
Yeah. So like when Gary Kurtz was the producer of Star Wars and he was there to challenge Lucas's bad ideas, Star Wars was better because Lucas had to come up with better ideas. When people like that went away, when you had Rick McCallum come in as producer, and he was basically just Lucas's yes man, is like everything George does is brilliant.
What's that scene? Everything is so dense. The scene is so dense. Remember that scene from the freaking?
Yeah. So like when you get someone like him in there, and no one's there to challenge Lucas, like with Indiana Jones 4. Yes, I'm going to mention it. With Indiana Jones 4,
about that.
Spielberg used to sit there and argue with Lucas about stuff, but with Indiana Jones 4, he was like, I'm just tired of arguing. I'm just going to give George what he wants. And so even Spielberg just gave up with telling Lucas no.
Oh, because Lucas like threatened to pull the funding from the movie.
Yeah.
If they didn't get what he wanted. I mean, listen, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. What I think the moral of the story is they should have had one cohesive storyline, one person to kind of mastermind the whole Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Probably a different person to
just like-
mastermind the Indiana Jones thing. Obviously, they have these IPs; they're going to use them.
I think at a certain level, like you know, people who are shot callers and stuff like that, they almost need like a panel of rivals, like someone there that they know is going to push back on them, that they know is going to tell them. That
I want you to read the
sucks.
super chat, Kadish, because this is for you.
JT Late Night with Cap for $2. They should have hired Kadish. I don't think they could afford me.
Hey guys, if you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and comment below on your favorite video as well. That goes a long way with helping us boost our channel and get out there in front of more people. And it lets YouTube know that we're doing something right. And if you want to catch us live, we go live 2 times a week, once on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time and on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. So join us there in the chat. We will see you on the live stream. Stay salty.